And so, it's great that you could all make it.
Yeah, Gordon.
And
Stanley, did you pin him? Pin Gordon. You're muted, but I think you probably did do it.
Yes, I've done it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry, Gordon.
Oh, yes. So once again, welcome to everyone that is here today, and we will look forward to the others that will be joining us in a few moments. And I hope you've all had an interesting couple of weeks in your own spiritual life. I've had some interesting experiences. Cynthia and I had a fascinating experience of having our old Toyota break down on the highway. I mean, really break down. And we had to call in the emergency service and be towed. This is at 10 o'clock at night on a 6-lane highway. Oh. And when we found out from our mechanic the next day that it was too messed up to be, the engine was gone completely and it might be about $7,000 plus to fix it, we decided to let it go. And as we were very fond of that car, I mean, really fond, it was tough letting go of that attachment. And but Spirit was looking after us, because after a day or so of looking at this magazine that we have here called Auto Trader, I'm sure everywhere else has something similar, and finding that most things I was interested in were too expensive, we were contacted, or we found through our regular mechanic and garage that another customer was looking to sell something fairly quickly, and were we interested? And so we were interested, and we got together with the chap that was selling it, fell in love with the cars, in immaculate shape. I mean, immaculate. And although it's 12 years old, I think, but it's in immaculate shape and runs very well. And we got it for a really bargain price. So we felt that we were being looked after and taken care of. The day before we got the offer, I'm sitting looking at the Auto Trader thinking to myself, oh, this is hopeless. We can't possibly afford $20,000 for any of these cars. And a little voice in my head at some point, which as usual with those little voices in your head, you don't quite pay as much attention as you should. The little voice said, oh, forget about that, Gordon. We've got something for you. So I said, oh, yeah, right. And then the next day we got this offer. And it suited us financially and every other way, right up to a T. And the other interesting thing was our car broke down right when we left this very snowy and cold period for about a couple of weeks that I'm sure David experienced too. It was ridiculously cold and very, very snowy, like feet of snow. And we were out on visiting friends on that day when we broke down, and it was the first warm day, or even sort of semi-warm. So as we waited for the tow truck, we thought, isn't this amazing? If this had been last week, we'd have been frozen. It was like -20. So these interesting little examples of how Spirit can look after you in ways that you don't even suspect,
Yeah, really. That's quite interesting. It's very true.
So that's been kind of our experience in a lot since I've talked to you guys. And certainly situations that I am and we were grateful for. So with that note,
Can I just quickly say something?
Hi, Adrian.
Hi. So, last week you did this retrieval for my friend's mother.
Yes.
And so the YouTube video of it went up, so I could show it to her, and it resonated with her very much, and she said she felt a profound peace after listening to what happened Like she was convinced that now her mother is in good hands.
Oh, good,
Great.
good. I'm glad that
Yeah.
made her happy. That's great.
And also last week there was some portions of the video I had bad connection, so there were portions that I haven't heard. But I listened the recording again, and I just want to applaud Denise for her courage in sharing last week.
That's right. That was very good, Denise. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And that's all for now.
Thanks, Adrian. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Adrian. It's always nice when you get some sort of
Thanks.
even small verification on a retrieval. Lovely.
Oh, and this elderly man was her brother. And the tension was because her brother's wife got difficult and was standing in between their relationship with her mother and the mother's brother. So they didn't had much contact in the last years of his life because of her wife.
Right. Well, doesn't that sound like a family situation we're all familiar with?
Mm-hmm.
So does anyone else have anything they would like to share from the last 2 weeks? Happy to listen.
Yeah, I just want to share something real quick. I don't know if you heard me, Adrian and David, or everyone. Thank you.
Mhm.
But I don't know if you remember the gentleman's name was Frank Carpenter.
Yeah.
And I tracked him down to the 1800s.
Oh my gosh.
And it's interesting because he's actually going to be a guide for me. He was a writer, but he did a bunch of different stuff. But writing was something he was doing, and he's going to help me write about my experiences. And then he came in. I got a message. He came in through a medium at Camp Chesterfield after church. And then he also came in through Phil Hinson. So, you know how they say when you get a new guide, look for confirmation. And I got, a couple of follow-up confirmations out of that. So I just wanted to share
Jeez.
with everyone that. And then when I tracked him down, I got the goosebumps, and it was pretty cool. So, all right.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. That's all.
Yeah. Great.
May I
Yeah,
just thank Adrian for his vision with swans when I last saw him, because I just explained to some of you I haven't been able to come because I've actually had to get a new computer with technical problems. But the swans really resonated with me, Adrian. They've been so important in my life. They helped me cope with the loss of my son. And I know the male swan had passed away. I didn't know if the female was still alive. But since I've last seen you, she has come back to me with her new mate after an absence of 15 months or so. It's been very joyous. I've seen her twice today. So in a way, maybe your vision of the swans you had probably going back a month now or more was a premonition. I don't know, but I'm very grateful for that. It really resonated with me, and unfortunately I crashed out of the meeting for technical reasons. I think Marge thought I was upset, but quite the reverse. I was really thrilled. But thank you so much for that. It was lovely.
Well, thank you for sharing. Yeah, that Sven was really impactful for me as well, because it just aligned in many different ways with the class.
Okay, Gordon.
All right then, friends, let's move on into our group meditation, shall we?
Yep.
So I hope you're all comfortable and relaxed and ready to give up any annoyances or irritations that may have happened yesterday, and also any anxieties about what might happen tomorrow. And let us live in the present moment, the eternal now. Let us understand that that is where we always are, but have a tendency to forget as we get caught up in the pressing details of life. Whether it's our own day-to-day existence or the politics of the world. Let us put all that aside and focus on being here now. So allowing yourself to relax and slow your breathing. As we have done on many other occasions, let us proceed to project, understanding that we can explore anywhere we wish or feel that our guides may wish us to do. And we can contact anybody that needs help or any group that might need some guidance, or merely just contact somebody that we might know who passed on, that we might be happy to say hello to, or who might be very happy for us to say hello to them. So please allow your energy to let go of your astral body, let it move on up out of your physical, up through the ceiling of the room that you are in, and up through the roof of the building that you are in. See yourself out in the sky above your community and feel the freedom of that vision and the breezes that blow around you. And now exercise your desire and your right to project. Go to any area of the astral plane that you feel you would like to explore, or that you feel you should explore, or maybe you feel that you're being called somewhere. Please do that, going backwards in time if you feel the need. That's definitely possible. And going to any level of the astral that you feel is of interest to you. And as I wish you well on your adventures, I will listen to me. I will be happy to see you move on into whatever adventure is going to happen to you. And we will talk again in 15 or 20 minutes.
Gordon, they're starting to come back now.
Okay, thanks, David.
Sure.
Okay, friends. I hope you've completed your excursion and are ready to come back. And as you do so, please remember to bring back all the little bits and pieces of your energies. Don't leave any of them there. Bring them all back into your body as you settle back into your body. Allow yourself to feel comfortable in that body after you have had the excitement of traveling. If you're still engaged somewhere, please continue on. Don't feel that you have to stop just because you hear my voice. We'll see you when we see you. And thanks to everyone for participating, and I look forward to hearing about your experiences. Over to you, David.
Okay. So I think we'll do it like how we usually do it, using your reactions button to raise your hand. And whoever wants to go first, go ahead. Okay, Adrian.
Okay, so so this time I tried something new. So in the last 2 months I started meditating daily, and I did it in a kind of a different body position, like sitting down on the floor with a straight back. And so I tried to do this meditation that way because I find I can focus that way better. So the first thing I saw was a tree in the forest, and then I felt a little girl there. Not sure how she died. I got this idea that she fell from a tree and broke her neck, although I'm not sure if that's how she died. And I thought that, well, that was later. So I talked to her. Hi, little girl. How are you? How can I help you? And she was looking for her mother. And so I told her, I don't know where your mother is, but I can call a nice lady who will help you. And then, well, I assumed that a guide will come, but actually I felt that it was her grandma who came. But she was younger, like she was probably dead for a while. And so she took her hand and But then it came me that it was the same girl I retrieved last week. And I was a bit surprised. Like I thought that she was already retrieved. So I wasn't sure what's happening there. So I followed them along this time. And they went through some sort of doorway, like portal or something like that, and went into a city, which was very expensive. I couldn't see it clearly, but I got the sense that it was a white city, very beautiful. And I tried to be part of the process there. I just wanted to make sure that she gets everything that she needs. And I asked, is there children here? Maybe I thought that she would be happy to see other children. And there were their children. And I told her grandma and some other people there that please take good care of her, like pay attention. So I don't want to do it a third time. And then I felt that she's okay there and left. So then I tried to contact my guide, and he came. Although the vision is still not quite there, so he get a couple ideas across to me, but it was actually the same things that he said last time. I just haven't done them yet. So he reminded me to start doing it. And then the image of the Sven came to me, and I asked what the Sven symbolizes. And it was purity, innocence, grace, and hope. Like these words came to me. And then I just sit with my guide for a while, and then I heard your voice and came back.
That's great, Adrian.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Adrian.
it was I this time I got goosebumps when I felt the girl.
Yeah, you're dealing with a
Right.
child.
Yeah.
That's different.
Adrian, did you say that aspects of this retrieval were similar to one you did 2 weeks ago?
Well, I'm not sure, but I think it was the same girl that I retrieved 2 weeks ago. Although
I see.
the circumstances were a bit different, but it was also a little girl. I just got the sense that it was the same girl. And
So,
has
what do you
it ever
think
happened to you that you thought that you have retrieved someone and she still had to go back and do it again?
I've certainly had to return to people that resisted being retrieved and would argue with me, that sort of a thing. And on one occasion mentioned in one of my books years and years ago, the woman that I was trying to retrieve was, angry, resentful, negative, And I went and saw her, I think, 3 times. And she just sort of argue and debate with me every time. And when I was about to go back the 4th time, I was told by a guide that a family member had gotten through to her, but the family member was only able to do this because by my own efforts, I'd sort of opened the door a bit, and the family member was able to get through that door and communicate with this woman. That's the first thing that comes to mind. I'm trying to think, did I ever retrieve anyone twice?
What I think now is that last time my perception wasn't as good as this time. So maybe I thought that the girl saw the guide. Maybe I saw, but it wasn't quite there. So maybe this time, because this time I felt the girl knew me, like so maybe from last time. Like
I
maybe last
see.
time she saw me, but didn't see the guide. I assumed that it was successful, but maybe it wasn't then.
Okay. Thanks for that explanation. That makes sense to me.
But I don't know this for sure, but just that's how I think about it.
Okay. Thanks.
I think it was pretty cool that you were able to follow her this time and find out where she went and make sure that she was okay.
Well, yeah, but I just asked the guys to take me where I need to go, and that's where they brought me.
Very
And also,
good.
I wanted to add another thing regarding what Gordon said in the beginning today about an aspect of him doing the retrieval. I've discovered that I can do something similar. Well, not with retrieving, but I did these experiments some years ago where I decided that before going to sleep, like I'm going to do a task while I dream. And even though I didn't remember what I did, I still get this inner knowing that I was successful. And also, I got confirmation that I was indeed successful. I tried to appear in someone's dreams, and it was successful. She actually didn't. So she confirmed that I appeared in her dream multiple times. So it's quite possible to do this, I think.
Yes, it is, and that's a good example.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you.
Okay, Larice, you can unmute.
There we go. Okay, took me a minute. Well, Dorothea Dix has become one of my guides, and she particularly likes to do retrievals and rescues with me. So today she took me to an area of North America that I would say is kind of on the border between Canada and the northern US. I don't exactly know where, but that's the best way I can describe it. It might be a little bit on the eastern side of that area. And what we went to was places like, what they used to call Indian schools, where they took Native American kids and put them in these schools. Yeah. And I kind of got emotional. I was like, oh God, no, I don't want to do this. And, my heart ached and my throat tightened and everything. And so, I'm sure there's been work done there before, but there were these little pockets of kids that I'd say were probably 10, 11, 12, and then maybe a few older ones, teenagers, that were in these little groups, and they had hidden from people who had tried to find them before because they were scared and they didn't trust anybody. So they had made their own little tribes and tried to imitate what they remembered as well as they could. And even though sometimes, they might not all be from the same tribe, and sometimes they had squabbles about how to do things, but they were sort of enacting what they recalled of their original place where they belonged. And, so this was back in time, so they've been doing this for quite a while. And I asked, when I saw that, when we came into range, I said, I need to look like them enough for them not to be afraid of me, like maybe a little bit older, but basically. So I came in and I started talking to them, and I was asking about what they were doing and how it looked and what they were, I said, wow, you guys are really organized. And I was impressed with them, and I talked to them about that for a while. And then I started talking about how they were not in their physical bodies anymore. And some of them were really open to that idea. It's like, oh, oh, well, maybe. And then others were just didn't want to hear it. It was like, I don't want to. There was one in particular that got really upset with me because I think she really wanted to move on and do something else, but she was so scared of what had happened to her in her past. She was like crying and, really angry at the same time. And so, and then I was talking to them about, I said, now, if you want to, you could go home you could go back to the spirit world where your tribes and your families are. And like I said, quite a few of them were open to that. And even a few of them called some more of them who were hiding to come out and check this out, because they were really, hey, maybe this time we could really go. We could really be with our tribes and our families. And, there was that one angry one that was just like having none of it. But they didn't want her to be left behind. And she had a friend who had stayed behind several times because of her. And she didn't want to stay behind again. So there was that going on.
Mm.
And then because of the fact that I was getting them to open up to some of these ideas and, presenting them and getting them to think, some of their parents were able to show up for them. Like they hadn't been able to in the past because they just weren't on the right frequency. But we got them opened enough that some of their parents started to show up, and that shifted everything. Because anybody who was in any doubt was like, that they're here, and they want to take us home. And so they had rounded up more of them that were scared and hiding, and they had this whole group of kids, and their parents were, and so like there was this one guy, and his father was looking at, as he presented, the kid presented as a warrior, and he came up, but when his father saw him, he was like, I'm so proud of you, you're a good warrior and everything. And so it just melted everything. Even the girl who had resisted, and I think several other times with other people, she just melted. They all just got with their families, and of course their families had guides too from the spirit world, and they all just took them.
Great. And then it ended?
Yeah, it ended because we were just alone in that place. We were like, okay, good. So we came. I kind of wanted to go with them to see what would happen, but we didn't have time.
Maybe you will in the future.
I might. Yeah, I might get to see. Yeah.
I got
Thank you.
2 points about that. And I live in Buffalo, New York, which is near the border. And we've got the Seneca Indians, and they actually had a school on the northern part of Buffalo that
oh, wow. Because I felt like it might have been New York. It was either New York or like right across the border from it. I didn't know, but that's really interesting to know, because that was the area that I pinpointed.
Yeah, because you said like to the east.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The other thing I want to ask you, tell us who Dorothy Dixon is again.
Okay, Dorothea Dix. Her name is Dorothea Lind Dix.
Okay.
And she's a woman who was, I think she was originally a nurse in the Civil War era.
Mm-hmm.
And she became an advocate for people who were, for prisoners and people who were confined to mental institutions.
Mm-hmm.
She became, a crusader for the mentally ill. And she was able to enact some changes for them. She all of her life, she crusaded very strongly and she was actually able to get some changes made. But the first time I ever conversed with her, she said to me, but they put it all back the way it was before, after I left. Like they really didn't want it that way. And as soon as they could, they found a way to reverse it. She was really not happy about that. and I think I told you this story before, but I, as a child, on television, and this would have been in 1963 or something like that.
Mhm.
There was, today we'd call it a documentary, like a program about her on TV. And I remember I was so glued to that thing, and I was really afraid my parents were going to come in and turn it off before the show was over. I'm like, oh God, please don't let that happen. And I don't know why I was so mesmerized by that, but I have some kind of a connection with her that was highlighted there. And more recently, when she got in touch with me, she's a no nonsense person. She kind of went, well, it's about time.
Mhm. Maybe she brought you to the rescue today because she championed doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know she did. I know she brought me because I felt her come in and do it. Yeah, she took charge of the situation. Yeah, she did. She absolutely did.
Yeah, it's like something she would do in her era when she was alive.
Right. And she kind of, the first time I ever worked with her, which was maybe, several times ago here, that I was conscious of working with her, we sort of made an agreement. It was like, I'd like to take you to do these things, a lot, and as often as you can in your life. And I completely agreed to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have an interest in that sort of thing too.
Yeah.
Apropos of nothing in my own personal life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know where it came from.
Yeah, right.
I just came in with it.
Does she show herself to you, or do you know what she looks like?
No, I can't tell you that at all. And the reason for that is that I'm blind and I don't know what anybody looks like.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's really hard to get detailed about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
She's sort of, if you looked at her, she's sort of stiff. She's not voluptuous or anything. You could probably find her, like if you looked her up online, you could probably find a picture of her.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you could. Because I looked her, when I remembered that incident, it just came to me one day. And then I looked her up online because it seemed mysterious to me, because that was about the only time I had ever heard of her, was on that TV program. And then I remembered that. I thought, she must be in the archives or whatever. And I was able to find her and found out where she came from and stuff, but I haven't done a lot of research.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, thanks, Louise. Another interesting retrieval. I've been following all your retrieval work with this woman with great interest. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Denise, do you have anything today?
I do have something, but it was more of a lesson.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, because it's a soul retrieval, I was going to wait and see till everybody, had to say what they had to say. And if there was time, I would share my experience.
Okay. Yeah. Why don't you?
Go ahead and share it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what was interesting is I did something different like Adrian. I surrounded myself in a Reiki sphere, rather than going out and, this machine that I normally go in. And I almost immediately went straight out to space.
Mm-hmm.
So I was confused by that. And but it was really, really interesting because I was floating and I felt the energy like I was an astronaut, but there was like no fear. So it felt like more of an experience than a retrieval, right?
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, I see this and I'm like, oh my God, that's a planet. Like, what a beautiful planet. It was large, it was huge, it was blue. And then I was seeing these satellites. And I'm like, what is that about? So I kind of got wrapped up in that. And then I felt nudged to look up Neptune and satellites for some reason, right? And I look up Neptune satellites, and believe it or not, an article comes up on Neptune, and it's 16 satellites. But what the article is about is the satellites are moons, 16 moons surrounding Neptune, and they're natural satellites. And as I was learning that, I also felt like, oh, so that means our moon, and maybe everybody else on here knows that moons are natural satellites. I did not. Okay. So then I'm like, okay, so the moon is natural. You know what I mean? So the moon is a natural satellite to me. So it makes sense. In a full moon, it's illuminated, right? In a new moon, it's dark, right? So your shadow side or whatever have you. So I found, you know what I mean, all that, interesting. And what they were, the lesson they were bringing in is one I now know that, moons are natural satellites, makes sense. But that to not like overthink and soul retrieval, because at the beginning of the retrieval, I was hearing beacon of light, and then I was taken off into experience, but completely forgot the experience, right? And then, and then I got into to the Neptune thing, or whatever have you. And so what they were showing to me is not to think soul retrieval, because when we go into this place where you take us, Gordon, we are natural satellites, because as light workers, you know what I mean, we're beacons, and and that's kind of like what the astronaut was letting me know, is that he saw my light. You know what I mean? He saw my light. And then, so yeah, that was the other thing. So as I'm looking this up, and a couple of these moons were discovered when Voyager 2 actually went by Neptune and captured this image. And as I was seeing it, and as I'm saying it right now, I'm getting the goosebumps. So I think in that moment, I think I tapped into one of the astronauts, but I don't think it was a soul retrieval. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'll have to sit on it. I think it was more of an experience, but that was really cool, because then I went on the search and I learned a lot. And yeah, so that's what happened to me.
Lessons are important, and they happen to me in dreams.
Okay. Yeah.
And when I go back and think about it, it's, oh yeah, this is a lesson that they're emphasizing, that they want me to know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it was, to just, be the beacon of light. And that's how, you know what I mean? Albeit, well, we're natural satellites to the lost souls, because our intentions are to retrieve and save them. You know what I mean? So it's about intention. So yeah. So I thought it was cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was very interesting. Thank you.
What about you, Gordon?
Oh, well, I guess it's my turn. I've been, because of my interest in political matters, going all the way back to the end of World War II and the beginning of the Cold War, and then the circumstances around the assassination of JFK, done a lot of research on that, historical research, reading. And, as you probably know, I contacted the spirit of JFK a couple of times. It's in my memoir. And he's quite happy and totally let go of any attachments that might be connected to that. But the more recently, with the last week, Trump ordered the release of the remaining, or what seemed to be the remaining, CIA and FBI files relating to the Kennedy assassination and other related matters. And there's now a House investigation going on. It was televised yesterday. And I've been very interested in that. And I contacted, before today, a couple of nights ago, Alan Dulles, who was the head of the CIA and is suspected of being heavily involved in the planning of the assassination after he got fired by JFK for the whole Cuba invasion screw up.
Mhm.
And then, of course, he winds up on the Warren Commission leading it. Fascinating situation. So I interacted with him 2 nights ago, and he was quite resentful. And who was I to question his, his character and all this sort of a thing? And quite proud of his actions, yada yada yada. Hadn't changed very much at all. And then I also met last night a woman called Mary Pinchot Meyer, who was part of the Washington elite, married Cord Meyer, who was a big shot in the CIA, then divorced him, and was, as is well known now, a lover and companion of JFK.
Yeah.
And according to Timothy Leary's autobiography, she came to him trying to get a supply of LSD so that she and some other people in Washington, unnamed, but we can guess who they were taking LSD and formulating this whole peaceful vision for the world that JFK elucidated in a couple of speeches, and that basically got him killed. So I spoke to her. She's very much has let go all of that stuff and is happy continuing being an artist as she was here, and is very happy in the spirit world, but did comment on how a number of the quote unquote Washington elite and CIA people that are now in spirit are very nervous about these papers being released and incriminating them in traitorous activity. They're worried about their reputations. And she just laughed about it. She thought it was pretty funny. So anyway, today, sorry to be so long, I thought I'd check out some other of these prominent figures that were on the periphery of this or directly involved, including the prominent CIA guy, James Jesus Angleton, and Ben Bradley, the former editor of the Washington Post in its glory days, who was, I think, Mary Pinchot Meyer's sister was married to him, if I didn't get that correct. So a lot of people were in that circle, and Mary Pinchot Meyer was the only one to vocally disagree with the Warren report, and quite, and she had to be shut up because everyone else was too frightened to say anything. So anyway, I contacted a few people very briefly, sort of like walking up to their doors and knocking and saying, "Hi, I'll just come by to see you." And that's a metaphor when I say how you might go up to somebody's door and knock on it. So I was checking them out so that I could maybe go back in the next few days and interview them more in a more detailed way. So that's what I did.
Mm-hmm. And if anybody wants to see that, Gordon has his own website, thewordofgord.com.
Yeah, there's a couple of them up on, as I say, and I've taken quite an interest in political figures. I talked to a guy who said he was an ISIS spokesman. I talked to a very sort of condemning guy who didn't like me, fundamentalist pastor, all in the astral plane some way or other. So I'm just interested in how people, they go to the astral plane and often they're still attached to the worldview that they had before they died. They won't give it up. Mm-hmm. And I'm just fascinated with it. Some people are quite willing to give up their old affiliations and their old prideful attractions and lust for status and power. They're quite willing to give it up, but others aren't. So anyway, I did a quick check on some people. And when I say quick, I mean quick, like, 10 seconds with everybody. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's kind of what I did today.
And Gordon videos himself with these reports that he does, and they're usually like in the middle of the night, like 3 a.m. or 3, 4,
yeah,
or 5,
that's right.
like that.
I get up about 4 a.m. and do
it's
them.
All dark and everything.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you can see you, but you're all
Oh, okay, cool.
background's dark.
Yeah. So, and all this is occasioned by the release of these 80,000 files that are now being talked about and discussed in a House of Representatives committee meeting. And I saw, a video of it just yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just quite fascinated with how, history eventually throws everything up that was previously hidden,
Yes, right. Adrian.
So I wanted to ask that you mentioned these CIA officers who were worried about their reputation being tarnished. So they were in the spirit world already, or they are still alive.
No, the ones I spoke to, most of the people from that time period are quite long dead, even if they live till 85, 90.
And so
They're all gone.
So they were worried about their reputation here in this world.
Yeah, they want to look good in the history books, and they want their grandchildren and great grandchildren not to be embarrassed when they find out what shits they were. I mean, we're talking about murdering people, taking over countries, causing revolutions, all sorts of things that went on in the Cold War period. And people like Alan Dulles were like totally involved up to their necks and all this stuff. And it's only, in the last 20 years, recent research, of which I've read, reveals all this.
Mm-hmm. Well, I find it interesting that maybe, in this world, they have a reputation, but that can be tarnished. But, in the spirit world, probably everyone already knows what they did. So it's not like a secret there, or how it this worked. So I see they're still attached about the reputation here.
Yeah. But as you say, Adrian, lots of people in the spirit world don't even care about this stuff. If they're settled in the spirit world, they're very happily enjoying paradise, as you well know. And they don't. Only a few people really care about this. There are people that will be resentful and want to talk to them and say, "Hey, something you did led to the death of my uncle, and I'm really pissed at you," or whatever they might say. And but they're a little clique. They protect each other, but that doesn't mean you can't drop in and see them, because they're on a certain level of the astral. Just like,
I see.
I'm not saying they're in hell. I don't mean that. They might be in some sort of purgatorial place. But if you take a higher vibration, slightly higher than where they are, you can zoom in on them and go through the walls of whatever building they're in and talk to them right there and then. I mean, I've done this in a much friendlier way with musicians that I really like, and just drop in on them. But because I've got a friendship established with them, they go, "Oh, hi, Gord, how you doing?" And I'll say, "Well, what are you working on now?" Yeah, etc., etc. But with these guys, they start out paranoid and suspicious. So you drop in on them, and they're mad that you've done it, and they can't figure out how you've done it. You've just shown up. But so. It's for me, it's an interesting investigation. I'm not saying everyone else should be interested, but if you're asking what I'm doing, that's what I'm doing.
Well, I think it's fascinating that even after so many years after their death, they are still attached about how they are being perceived here.
Well, I'll tell you, some of them have intimated that, like Dulles said, well, look at what Russia's doing now in Ukraine. You don't think that there's something to be frightened of and reckoned with and pushed back on, just like in my day, back in, 1959 or 1964. They've got that Cold War mentality very strongly. And then they look at situations like Ukraine and say, well, see, we were right all along. So they've got all kinds of justifications going on here.
And so they are kind of aware what's happening here on Earth.
They can be if they want to be. I've noticed this in even more kind of normal family situations. I think some of our other participants have commented on this. people in families, regular day-to-day families, nobody special. The grandfather will keep in touch with what's going on with the sons and the grandsons and other people by zooming in on them and looking at them watching television or looking at them reading the paper, and then they will keep up on day-to-day stuff. Now, not everybody does that, but some do.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So, Julia,
some of them are more like, why should I be bothered with that nonsense? I'm in heaven now. Let's enjoy it. That kind of thing.
Yeah, when I talked with my father through a medium after his death, he didn't really care about what's happening here, but he told me that occasionally he visits me just to see me, but he's not really interested. He's not really interested about world affairs.
Yes,
he's
so
focused.
It's just
he was focused where he was.
And religious people are. Obviously, there's all kinds of religious people. There's free-thinking religious people. There's narrow-minded religious people. There are people that are still fighting the Crusades from 1,000 years ago and think Islam's kind of demonic. These hard-ass Christian types. You'll meet them too. And they'll say, well, look at the Middle East now. Look at all the wars. And isn't that satanically inspired? That just sort of fits their belief system.
Interesting that how long they can keep up their belief system and their perceptions filters.
Yes, exactly. Exactly that. I mean, I've got my interests. I've talked to composers that died 300 years ago, and people might think, well, why would you bother doing that? Well, because I love the music, and I love to see that they're still doing stuff, either doing stuff or not doing stuff. My interests are highly in the arts, but you could say, well, that's my tunnel vision, if you like, my obsession.
So I guess if they would reincarnate, then it would change their perceptions again. Like
they
have
could
a different personality and have different interests after that.
Yes, exactly. They could do that, or they might take another incarnation that is in some newer version of the power elite that is struggling against the so-called enemy. That's their pattern, is to find an other and fight against it, because it's the enemy. They can't give that up, and sometimes they'll carry it on from incarnation to incarnation.
Interesting. So they do have the choice to pick a body in another power elite family.
Yes, they do. Absolutely, they do.
So, Julia and Stanley, do you want the floor today?
Well, in fact, Adrian asked what I was thinking of asking first of all. That's really, really fascinating, because I find it astonishing and quite amusing in a way that people in spirit are still concerned with their reputation in the history books here, because you'd think once they got to spirit and they realize life is eternal, they'd be forward thinking and focus on trying to be a better soul. So that was really interesting. As soon as you said that, Gordon, a while back, I thought that is ridiculous, really. People are so concerned with their reputation here. But regarding my experience tonight, I was just so relaxed, thank you. I virtually went to sleep. It was really nice, and all I got was, I think I've had this before, drifting along the river in a boat with lovely weeping willow trees at the side. They're my favourite trees. You see them along the Thames, parts of the Thames in England, near where I grew up as a child, and that was lovely. And I saw beings on the riverbank, humanoid figures, but they were just a swirling mass of light. I couldn't make out what they were. This is going off tangent slightly, but I have been watching a lot of channeled messages from beings purporting to be from the Pleiades and Arcturus. I'm not sure what to make of them. If anyone's got any input on that, even though it's perhaps off topic, I'd be really fascinated. But I wondered if perhaps I was getting a vision of them. But whatever I was getting, it was really relaxing. Thank you very much.
That's very interesting. Do you have
Yes,
comments on that
yeah.
about these extraterrestrials that she's mentioning, Arcturians and the Pleiadians?
Well, I wonder if that who it could be, because certainly in the last, I don't know, few decades, individual people have, aside from the people that get abducted, uh, seem to be seeing a lot of extraterrestrials in and around their lives, little glimpses here and there, dreaming about them, etc., etc. And with people sharing experiences on the internet and on various websites where contactees are interviewed. Um, there's a lot of that going on. And for example, I don't know if you know Grant Cameron. He has a podcast. He's a longtime researcher. He claims he's been collecting them, contacted by 35 different contactees that remember being on alien ships and being shown how to sort of sit in the pilot seat and drive them. That I find fascinating, because enough people are having that experience, and he's been, collecting them. And so things like that I find quite fascinating. And Julie, I'd just like to add, if you or anybody has experiences in our Zoom group here that involve extraterrestrials, please speak up about them, because I think we should. And I don't want you to feel like I'm going to edit it out or, censor it in some way. Not at all.
Not at all. Adrian's got his hand up. I'll just say thank you for that. I feel perfectly comfortable speaking to anybody here. You're all beautiful, broad-minded people. Just very briefly before Adrian comes back, I was looking at Jürgen Siever a bit again as well, and he said something about in some of his out-of-body experiences, he was able to visit the astral worlds of extraterrestrials, which I found really interesting. And of course, other people say we reincarnate, or I think Dolores Cannon said we reincarnate on other planets anyway. So we are all aspects from the same source, aren't we? We're all part of the same creation, whatever planet we're living on.
Yeah, I see that point of view being repeated quite a lot these days, Julia. It's being discussed for sure.
Go ahead.
I'm tempted to agree with it, even though I don't really have the evidence, but it feels right,
So regarding the ETs, I once had a projection. So I get a sleep paralysis, and so I was in my bed, and I couldn't move, but I could see through my closed eyes, and I saw a screen in my room, like a TV screen or something like that, and there were two gray ETs, although they weren't typical gray, how they're portrayed in the movies, but something like that. There were two of them, and they were watching me through the screen. They were talking, although I didn't get what they're talking about. But they were looking at me, I was looking at them, and then I broke my sleep paralysis and waken up. So that was the one occasion when I saw ETs in a projection. It was really interesting. But it wasn't a clear communication. But I could see them very clearly through the screen. It was very vivid, very lifelike. So it wasn't a dream-like experience. It was sharply in focus.
Yeah.
So thanks, Adrian. And as I say, anyone in the upcoming weeks has experiences like that, feel free to talk about it, please.
Sure. Yep. Okay, Stan.
Yes. I'm sorry I didn't actually manage to get away. I was on the point of leaving and suddenly coming back again, but several times. But I just relaxed and let it happen. But I couldn't get away, so I'm quite interested in all of the stories.
Very good. Thank you, Stanley.
Thanks, Stanley.
Yeah.
Stanley, can I ask? I know you've been going to the same spiritualist church for many years. Is that correct?
Well, the one we're going to now is, let me see, it's probably about 9 years, 10 years, coming up 10 years this year.
So in the last few years, have you any friends in that church that have passed on?
Yes, I have. There's been two that we quite often talk about. But I have given them thoughts from time to time. I still do, actually. But so far, there hasn't been any physical response.
Yes. Well, Stanley, when I checked in on you a bit during the meditation, I check in on just about everybody.
Yes.
You see, I sensed a spirit that knows you, likely from your community, that was reaching out and trying to communicate with you. He was very close to your aura, and I wasn't sure how the communication was going, but I just wanted to let you know somebody was there.
Oh, that's of interest. I wonder.
No, I don't think they're in any kind of desperate straits. They just wanted to say a friendly hello. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And I didn't get any name or anything, but I did distinctly had the feeling it was somebody from your church that you've been going to.
Right. Yep. Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. I will pass it on to my wife because she obviously has mentioned this sort of thing a couple of times recently.
Yes. Yes.
Thanks, Stan.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome.
Okay, Julia.
Excuse me. I wondered, Stanley, and I probably should take my own advice as well. Perhaps it might be beneficial for you in the intervening times between meetings, a time you feel really relaxed, just to sit quietly and meditate and see what happens when you're not actually under pressure. Because sometimes I feel under pressure here. What am I going to say? But then perhaps something might happen, and then you can make notes and report it here. That might perhaps work better for both of us. Perhaps we could try that, because it doesn't really matter whether we have an interesting experience here or another time, does it? So we could have an experience anytime. Because I think once, didn't you have something? Was it involving space or something like that? And that was outside of a meeting. And that was a really good experience from what I recall.
Yeah, I can't remember that one that you're talking about at the moment. But yes, I mean, in fact, several times a day, I actually sit and go into a meditational state. But usually that only lasts a few minutes and I'm away, I'm gone. And an hour later, I come back to normality. So, unfortunately, unlike when that sort of thing happens when I'm sleeping, I don't remember the daytime events, but sometimes during a nighttime event, yes, I can remember. It's weird.
So Stanley, just a quick note. So where I am, it's a different time zone, and when you came on now today,
yes,
the time here was 22:22, like You came
Right.
in and 22, just a little synchronicity with you.
Thanks.
Yeah, what you're mentioning, Julia, that's a common thing that I do too. I was always worried about if something going to happen that I can tell.
Yeah.
And as I've told everybody, I start way before this meeting and get something, and then I can elaborate. I can go back again and get more details as the meeting comes closer and closer. That's a good idea. Just because you see him one time doesn't mean that you can't go back again. You really and pick it up. So I think that's going to do it for today. I think next time we're going to meet on April 16th. And you'll all get
Okay.
email.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Gordon. Thanks, everyone. Love you
Thank
guys.
you, everyone.
Nice talking to
It was
everybody.
nice. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have fun till I see you again.
Okay.
Very nice.
That'll be me 2 days. Next time you meet, it'll be it's a day and a bit before the big birthday.
Oh, yes. Are you 89 or 80? You're 88 right now, right?
Yeah. No, I will be 88.
You'll be 88. Okay.
Yep. So
happy birthday in advance.
thank you. Look forward to it.
Thanks, Stanley. Thanks for keeping it again.
Thank you, Stanley.
I'm going
Thanks for all your help.
to stop